Hey, Fitzy here, back at it again. Today we're going to be building a windshield frame for a side-by-side. About 6-8 months ago, I done a video on building the roof for the same side-by-side, only now getting around to finishing this one off. And built it out of simple stuff. I had old locker doors there I used to make the frame out of. I went to our local scrapyard and picked up the wiper motor from the 626 and the trunk seal from the 626, used as a seal on the bottom of it, and I had the glass cut locally. Stick around, I'll show you how I did it. My plan is here today is I'm going to go get some parts. We're doing the windshield in the side-by-side, so I would like to have a wiper on it. So we're going to go to the local scrapyard here now and see if I can find something that I can use. You can always go buy something, but where's the fun in that, eh? So we're going to take a stroll through our local scrapyard and see what we can find. Stay tuned. Okay, I'm back from Part U Pick, and this is what I found and what I came up with. I got a wiper arm off pretty sure I think it's a Dodge minivan. I wanted it because of that little bend and it was made of steel, so I got to lengthen it or anything. I could do all the modifications on it, and it had a good blade on it, nice long blade. This is off a Mazda 3. This had a plastic wiper arm on it, and I wasn't fussy on it, it was only short. But it had the full range of what I wanted, and it was in the body. So I got to play around with a bit to make it work and make a mounting bracket for this. And I picked this up for the base of the windshield to seal off, to keep any wind from getting in underneath the glass, underneath the frame. That's just a trunk rubber. I can't even remember what I got it out of. It was parked next to this, and I seen it there. I said, oh, look, there's a rubber I'm after. So I grabbed it. So there's my little score to you pick. Now, next thing will be to start making the windshield for it. So I got the parts here for it. And all I have to do is get glass made for it later. So let's start to get building. Okay, the first thing I'm going to have to do is I got to find some way to mount the windshield to this roll cage. Don't want to weld nothing to it or drill any holes running in these roll bars. It's not safe to do. So I got to make some sort of clamping mechanism. Now, again, you can go buy clamps. You can go to dealership and buy windshield clamps. You can go to a hardware store and just buy the little ringlet style ones, but to me they're not that strong. I want to build something that's half steady and solid on the thing, because what I got to do is I'm going to build something that will wrap around this pipe that I can clamp and clamp tight, and then that'll be welded to the windshield. And here's what I come up with. I had this stuff kicking around now. I had a whole bunch of these kicking around. They're off a top pens, off like a Chev, 350 Chev or whatever that holds the top pen down. I have abundance of them here kicking around. What I'm going to do, I found this piece of exhaust pipe that the inside diameter is pretty close to the roll bar pipe. And what I'm going to do is I made these up. This is what I got done here now. This bolt is only a spacer temporarily, and I got these bolted together like so. I'll weld a nut on the back side. I'm only going to be using about this much of these brackets, but hey, if you look at them closely, they're already ready made. They got a nice shape to them, right? So like if I only use that much of them, it's a nice little bracket. So I'm reusing what I got. And what I'm going to do is this here is just going to be mounted like this, welded onto here, like so. And what I'll do is I'll just leave the pipe alone, I'll weld these brackets on, cut them off the length, and then I'll cut them through the middle here and clean them all up. That way the clamps line up. So they're already made up. That's the reason why I done them like this here with the bolt in the middle. That's only a spacer so that when I go to tighten up the bolt, tighten up the clamps, it'll draw tight on the pipe before it will actually close up. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to cut off 4 sections because we're going to have 4 mounting points. And I just decided I'm going to make them 2 inches wide. So let's mark that off 2 inches and just take a piece of tape, give myself something to go by. Lay it on the 2 inch mark and then line this tape up. And I should be close with straight edge. So we got to put the straight edge all the way around, and I'll just chop that off there now. I went ahead and I got the 4 pieces cut. I deburred them, cleaned them up inside, and I went ahead and I grinded off either side of these, removed the chrome off them, and set them up. And now I'm bolting them together like so. And that way, what I'm going to do now next is I'm going to weld this nut on here, so that's permanent. It's best to do this now because if I ends up burning this and it has to tap it, I can clamp it to the vise and I can run a tap through it to clean it up if I get any welds on the threads on that. So I'm going to go ahead and bolt all these together now and start welding them together. What I'm doing here now is where I got them all welded up, I'm checking to make sure that I never welded the bolt on. Loosen it up a bit. See, that was a bit tight. Now, I'm going to have to run a tap through that one. So far I only found 2, the rest were good. But what ends up happening here is when you weld them on, if you got a lot of heat, it'll actually go in and it'll actually bite the inner thread. And sometimes you may have to run a tap through it. And now's the time to do it before I put this whole thing together and then realizes that, hey, I got issues. And I got all them ready to go. Next thing now, in these here piece of pipe, it's just a seam in it. So that's going to be where I'm going to put one of the cuts to when I cut it out. So that way I haven't got to worry about it when it clamps around the roll bar that it's going to chafe it or anything like that. So all I'm going to do is I got it lined up there on the top. Just to give it a bit of strength, I'm going to clamp this on the vise here on the bench. And all I do is I just take these here, center them up as best I can. Like so, and weld that on right there. Now I got that all bolted together. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and cut this excess off that I don't need, off these. Now I got this cooled off now, and what I'm going to do now is I got this piece of plate here. It's just a random piece I found. I never had no special measurements I went by. What I need is I need something for the windshield to weld to, mount to, and I'm going to plug weld holes from the outside into this here. But what I want to do is I'm going to mount this on the back side of it. Make sure the bolts are facing up. Just center this up on this and clamp it on. There it is there, set up. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to weld this onto this piece of plate here and have that done. I'll just tack weld it on there for now. Now I've got that clamp device there now. I'm just going to remove this side here, this bolt. You've been wondering what on the hell is he making here at all? Here's what you're left with. Two pieces that'll bolt together, and there's enough space between them that they'll have to come apart. They got to be drawn in and they'll clamp to the pipe. Now I got to dress them up, tidy them up, and what I'm going to do first, I'm going to clean this up enough so I can do a test fit on it and see what they're like. That's it. Here's how it looks like, mounted from the inside. That's what you'll see. Now I'll dress all that up and tidy all this up along here and things. But now I got a platform that I can actually weld to. I'm going to put like plug welds in this here when I lays the windshield piece on over it. I'll put one there, one up here, and then same one over here and down here of this unit. This piece here will be mounted. This piece here will be mounted to the windshield itself. So when you unbolt it, it's just a separate piece here. All this here will be part of the windshield. And I'll just wrap around the bar like so. I'm gonna go make the rest of them there now. And there you have the four of them made up, cleaned up, dressed up, and bolted on place. It's a pretty simple setup. You know, like people will say, well, why don't you just go buy clamps? A lot of the clamps I see around are very small. Of course, you just can't buy them either. You gotta order them in and whatnot, right? But half the fun is building this stuff, so that's half the reason why I does it. And I've always felt that this clamping mechanism would work good. Now I have 4 points on it now, and all I'm going to do is when I start putting the windshield on it, they will be spot welded on here. So this here will be permanently mounted to the windshield frame itself. So what I'm going to do, a bit different what I'm going to do here now. Most people probably make one big piece there and cut it out to center. What I'm going to do, because you got to deal with an angle here, an angle up here, and then you got to deal with all this down here going up and down, and these corners are caught on an angle. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make two sides, a top and a bottom. I'm going to give lots of excess in the middle, so then I just got to cut it out for the windshield. So let's start with this here. I got an old side off an old locker door here. So what I'm going to do is this got a nice lip on it already. I'm going to use this as a drip rail going up alongside of it. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to hold a bend in here. Much the same way I got the roof done here. That roof was off a 73 Cuda, if you haven't seen the video for this one. I bent it all up, but it's got a little lip on it here. And all I'm going to do is do a similar type of thing, but come down here. And I was going to come out to here and it's going to have a little bend off. I want to try to hide some of this here off the side of it so it goes down this way here. And the drip rail, I'll let it run off the side of the car here, see? Instead of running up across here. And also keeps it when you got water coming across this way, instead of it coming into the cab this way, it'll hit the drip rail and go this way. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to cut up sections now, probably about this wide, and just make up the two sides going down here like that, and then put the drip rail on it, mount that side, and then mount that side, and then work on the top, and then work on the bottom. So I took a measurement of about 24 inches. That'll give me a little small bit extra. So I've got a few pieces of this, so if I don't like this, so I'll make one first and then see what it looks like, and then go from there. I'm going to say 9 inches. 9 inches. Basically, that's what I got going on, and this will be one side. This will be the drip rail. I'm going to bend in here to bring it around the side, and then later on then I'll probably end up cutting this section here out like so for the glass to fit in there. But for now I just want to leave lots of room inside, so I got room to work with. Cut that now. I got that cut out now. And I've done a quick test fit on it, so I figures I'm going to put a bend about 1.5 inches in. That'll give me a nice rolled edge. And what I'll do is I'll bend this one up, and then if I'm happy with this one, I'll make the second one, so that way I got both sides figured out. So I'll go over and bend this up now. Again, I'm just trying to put bends and everything to give it nice, lots of strength. So, I'm going to bend this now so this outer lip is even with this here for when it's flat. Just to check to see what it's like. And that should be good like that. Size that up. So here's the fitment to this one here. I got the little edge bent up. I got it trimmed up on top here to fit underneath the guard. There's going to be another section up here now later on. And I'm coming down here and I put a bit of a gap underneath this here so it's not touching the body. That plate is in there now. It's right on the edge of the lip. And same with the bottom one there. And that'll be plug welded from the upside, from the outside, where I got that clamp to there now for that one. People are looking at this now saying, you know, Tony, why are you making this out of one piece like this? Why don't you just make it all one piece and then cut center out of it? Well, you got angles to go with. You got a shape on the top here, right there, and across this top bottom section. You got a lot going on. I'm concentrating on getting these sides straightened away first, so this side and that side are the same. Once I get them figured out, then it'll be the top. You imagine trying to do all these bends on either side, getting the angles. Because this is not straight up and down. This is not straight up and down. This is tipped in a bit. So trying to get that angle there, and then trying to get that angle there, and then trying to make all these cuts here the same, only to find out that it's all over this way too far, or it's all the way over this too far, or this is too low. Doing this in 4 pieces, and I'll be cutting it on an angle, I'm cutting and butting the corners, and then I'll just cut the center out of it. is a lot tidier. It's a lot less stressful, for one thing. So I'm going to go ahead now and I'll make the second one. And I'm going to test fit them. I'm not going to weld them on yet because I want to make the bottom and the top next. Okay, there's the other side done there now. It's much the same. It's pretty well straightforward. Well, I got it all done. I went down here and I marked down here now where that cornered edge is to. So it'll tell me how long the bottom piece got to be. And now I got to turn around. I got to make the top section and the bottom section down here. This is a bit tricky, but I'm going to make this one first. So I got 2 of these ready to go. I'm going to take them off now and lay them aside and start making that top piece. Now, measure this one up. I turn around and I measured the here from both corners, and it was 30 1/4. Now, because this is, I want it to lay against this here, and I want to give it a bit of strength. So what I come up with the idea now is I'm going to roll a lip over, much the same as what I did underneath here, is I'll roll the lip over, I'll roll it in this way here, so it'll be twice as thick here and down this side here coming out. So this is what I went and did over here now. I went and cut off another section of that locker door, and it already got a lip on it, so I'm going to leave the lip there. It's 3/4 of an inch. That's what I'm going to go with. So I measured it off here, centered. I centered off the piece of steel, and then I measured it off here and here, and then I turn around. These here are 45-degree angle. I turned around and I measured it up and sized it up, and I was like, oh, these are 45 degrees. So I cut them on 45. Now, if you look closely here, if I can get the line in there, you can see I got a line here. I'm going to cut it along here and remove the section here. I'm going to fold this section in underneath, and I'm going to fold this section in underneath. So that way, the entire top edge will have a folded lip all the way around. So that'll be on the back side of it, and you won't see it. It'll be just added strength there, and it'll be thick up on this top edge. So I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to trim this up here and this one here and get it all ready and start folding over the edges. And there you go. That's the top straightened away. Fits nice in the corner up in that long edge. I had to trim off the back side here where I had this folded lip all the way down here so it wouldn't rest on this here, so I can get this in flush. But I'm pleased with it. Up along the top there and over on this side as well. Fits in there nice. So that's that done. So now I gotta move on to this bottom section here. This is gonna be the tricky one, trying to get this one done. Okay, I went ahead and I cut out a piece of scrap steel. Cut it longer than it should be. Still got a bent lip on the top of it. That's from another one of them locker door things. I just left that there for now. It's good because it keeps the panel from shaking around. I never put it there for any particular reason. It's just that I never bothered to cut it off yet because it's just a piece of scrap steel to start with. Now, I got that little clamped in place on both sides. I got it marked right here where the outside edge is got to come to, or the corner edge, because it goes out to here, but it only needs to come to here with my edge, and this will come up this way. What I'm going to do now is I got to mark and get this to fit down over this panel here. Now, some people would have made template and made over it and stuff like that, but I'm going to do it a little bit different. I'm not one for templates, as you know. I'm going to go over here and get a marker. Get myself a decent marker. I do things a little bit different. I got the square here. All I'm going to do is I'm going to move this into here. And I'm going to mark the top edge of it with a marker. Much like this here. Mark each individual point as you're going along. Like so. And I'll come over here and you can see that one's there. And that one is there. And I'll mark this one here. Just by using the angle, I can go in and I can get it right above it. So now I got my points of what I got to do, and I got to cut this at an angle and whatever. I know that this depth here, how far this got to go down. This is the highest point here, so I know that this got to be this distance here. So this will have to come up, say, to here somewhere, for this here to fall all the way down. So I'm going to start going around. I'm going to trace this all out and come back and show you what I got done. Here's what I got done. I went around to each individual point and I marked it in here and drew a straight line up 90 degrees on all the locations where the angle's got to be cut. Okay, now I went ahead and I found the lowest point, which is out here, which is out right here, and I turned around and I marked it. I laid this flat against the panel, like so, and moved it down and I marked it. So I got the mark put on it where it was to. All I did then is I went around to each individual point and went up down the line and marked it. So all the distances would be the same all the way along, like so. Holding this flat against this here, just moving it down and then marking it, because the angle, as this moves forward, moves down, this is going to come forward on this as well. So you got to watch that, because you can see if you lay this here and move it down, you can see roughly where it's going to land if it came forward on it. And I've done that all along there. As you can see here, this one here marks there, right? And this one here stays there because that's the lowest point here. And all I'm going to do now is I'm going to connect all these here, draw all these going along here, draw that from there to there. And that way when I cut all these pieces out, it should fall right into this section here. So here I got it all drawn out, marked each in the point all the way up. And then I drew all the lines, connect them all together. All along, had a bit of trouble here. I had to redo the line again, but I got it marked around the bottom side. But as you can see, all these here, this line here now is parallel to this down here. So I'm going to go over now and I'm going to cut all this out. So this here will fit down. So I got a seal that I got to put along this here that'll seal off to the body of the car. But I want to get this cut all out first. It'd be kind of hard to make that, again, in a one piece, trying to do all this here up. Make these angles here, cut these two corners here, and then do this angle here with the drip rail on it. Try to do all that on one piece. It would be tricky. So, go cut that out now. There you have it. Got it all cut out. I had to trim it back a couple of times. Go back a few times, test fit it. And I got a bit of a gap along there. It's a bit tight here. I don't mind that so much. I got to put a seal along this anyway. I'm going to fit that there now. But I just wanted to show you how I went about doing this and how I made the angles and cut it. It worked out pretty good. I just had to, like, again, it's the thickness of the marker, so a lot of places where I cut on the inside the line, I should have cut on the outside the line and whatnot, right? Like right here, you can actually see it. If I had to cut the line right off, I would have had a nice gap there. I'm probably going to end up doing that anyway. But I'm going to do a test fit on the rubber. There I got the seal on there. That's that old back hatch seal that I had. And fitting on there is not going to be perfectly airtight, but for the most part it'll be good. A little bit there. I rounded out the edges on the steel there to make it fit nice. All I'm concerned about is to keep it from chafing the plastic and vibrations and stuff like that. But I'm pleased with that. So now I got all the pieces made, the 3 pieces made up. So now I'm going to go reinstall the 2 side pieces and mark them and start welding them on. And then I'm going to start adding each individual section onto that. That's all I went and did is I drilled out spot welds on the top and on the bottom and welded them on. Nothing fancy. Remember them flat brackets that I made? Just welded that. All I did is I come in here and I marked them. And then took the panel off, drilled out the holes inside the markers, and then come back over here, clamped it back on, and welded it on. Now, weld the other side on. That's the other side welded on. Always use a good fire blanket on this, doing this type of work. The bodies on these are running plastic, and the slag from the welds are going to melt everything. You'll end up destroying the body on the car, so make sure you got it wrapped up good and covered over for slag. So I got this fire blanket on it. Anyway, that's the 2 sides welded on. Now I'm going to start to install the top. So here's all I got done so far. Is I took these outer panels here and I cut them on an angle from up here in this corner. I took from this corner here where I want them to end. I turn around and cut that, and I cut it on an angle on the inside piece there. And this one on both sides. Then I got this piece put in place and I clamped up and lined up. Now I got it marked on the inside where this corner edge here ends. You can see where I got this roll lip. I want it to end here, so I got it marked there where I'm going to end it. And basically then cut that on an angle this way here. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to overlap this. I'm not going to cut all this off in here. I'm going to come back to about here somewhere and cut this off this way. But up here, I'm going to butt this right here and cut that off flush so it runs in and butts into this panel here on the top, on the inside, but it'll overlap. And then I'll cut it to butt after. Just as long as I can get it to fit where it's supposed to go. Not worried about none of the center section yet. As you can see, it's pretty rugged looking. But as you can see now, I can cut all this out here after the fact, make a nice window in there. Here's a better look at it now where I got it marked. You can see here where it overlaps. I got to cut this section out of it all together. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to cut this like so. That's all I'm going to do there now, and leave this little bit overlap there. So then I got something to rest against. But up here, I'll cut this section here out all together. So this here falls in. Same with over here. I'll do the same thing over here. There, I got it fit in place. I grinded it all off so I can tack weld it in place there now for temporary till I gets it off and I cuts and butts it. But it's a nice fit up along there, up along the very top edge on both sides. I'll weld it on there now. Okay, they're all spot welded on. All ready for the cut and butt. Down here in the bottom now I got this panel laid in place. I put it a bit tight here. I can always trim that up after the fact for the gasket. It's a lot easier to take out than it is that in. All I went and did is earlier I marked it here where the outer edge, where this lip is to here. Down here in this corner, I marked it on the thing. So there's my angle I'm going to cut there up to here. And I'm just going to cut that off like that. Overlap that there. Same thing done over here. Mark there, cut that across there. Clean that up and spot weld it on there. And that'll be the bottom section in place. Alright, here I got it cut at an angle. And I went and marked it, and I got a couple of lines put on it. That one there is horrible, but that one there is good. Done that so I can put the fire blanket in place. And I knew I could put that back where I wanted to put it to. And done the same thing over here. Plywood back there so I don't catch nothing or burn anything up. So now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to tack weld these on in place. And that'll be the entire frame. One piece then. And there you have it. It's all one piece now. This angle and this angle's the same. It's uniform across the bottom. It's fitting up in the corners, nice angles. So, you know, look on the outside of it and you'll see what I'm talking about. So now I'm going to take this off now and bring it over on the bench. I'm going to cut and butt all this and start marking out for where the windshield's going to go and where I'm going to put the wiper. I'm starting to do the cut and butt. I got this set up here now. It just overlapped. And you can see now where I just got it welded. And then over here, I went ahead and I cut and bought this whole section. There's the section I took out. So now this is all flush mounted along here now. Same with up here. This is the piece that I cut out of it, and that's all flush mounted. I'm going to go ahead now and do that side there and do that side there. If you're not familiar with it, the cut and butt method, I have a number of videos where I do it in it. So you want to check out my channel and have a look at and see my other videos. I've covered this many times. It's a very simple technique, and I'm using it on this windshield frame. Okay, I got them cut and butt all the way around, and what I went and did then, I went ahead and start marking out where the windshield is going to be cut out. As you can see, what I got done here now, I got lines drawn around here. I left enough here. I left 1 inch on the sides for the rubber to take, and round corners so the rubbers can pass around the corners. And I went as big as I possibly can. I'm going to put a reinforcement in along here, right along where the glass is going to go, so that way there's a bit of strength to it all the way around, because it is only, it looks to be about 18 gauge metal. So I'm going to double up right here where the glass goes. Now that I got that drawn out, I'm not going to cut it out yet. What I got to figure out now is the wiper. I'm putting an electric wiper on this, and there's what I got. Okay, that's roughly where I'm going to put this to, roughly about there. And it's a full swing wiper that'll swing the full length of the glass all the way around. I got to figure it out. I got to shorten this blade, and the arm I think I may leave alone. And I got to figure out where to. Now the top of the glass, I was already talking to the glass guy, because the wiper arms are full swing. I'm going to have to mount it down here. So this here is going to come across and turn up and do this type of thing around this section here. And the glass guy says he can cut that section. So I've seen windows like it online, so that's the route I'm going with it. So what I got to do now is I got to figure out the swing on this now. And I got my measurements here that I can go by. This is my upper window. So I'll draw that on the bench. What I got done here now, I'll draw it on the bench, and then I'll start playing around with the way I'm going to set it all up. So here's what we got. As you can see, I got it drawn out on this here of the size of the window that I'm going to do. And what I did is I took these measurements and I came over here on top of the bench and I actually drew it out on the bench. Right? So this is the exact same size hole as that window over there. And these round corners, just so you know, I just used an old quart paint can and used that as to make the round corners. That's simply done. Now that I got this done, I got the center line marked. I'm going to clamp the wiper onto this here, and I'm going to run it through the motions to see about how it's going to work. Now I got to keep in mind that this is the cut hole for the window, so there's going to be a rubber that's going to be on the glass, which is going to come over about 1/2 inch. So I got to take that into mind, so when I start putting the wiper on it, where it's going to meet and where it's going to stop to, I got to keep an eye out that the wiper blade doesn't come up past this point here. If it comes up here, it's going to be on the rubber all the time. So I want it to stop here, and I got to make sure the tip clears about here. So I'm going to go play with that now and see if I can figure out what I can do with this wiper, because this is going to be mounted somehow like so, like that. I figure it's going to come down. This is the top of the windshield frame. I use the edge of the bench for to act as the top edge, and I know it's got to come down about 1 inch before I can mount it. So that's got to go about right there. And so then I got to figure out my swing, and like I said, I got to shorten this up. I got an idea of how I'm going to do that. But first thing I do, I'm going to figure out my swing. Okay, spent a lot of time playing around with this. Was too in depth to actually sit down and videotape myself fooling around with it and playing with it, turning the wiper and everything. And you can actually see the marks on the top of the bench where I had the wiper going back and forth. I figured out that the wiper motor is got to be mounted about 1.5 inches down from the top for the center line to come through the hole, and that is to be mounted here. I got to make up mounting brackets for that. That's going to be my next chore. The wiper arm, I played around with that, and I got the arm. Basically, the way this is going to work now, this is going to swing from about here over to about here. The way the wiper is going to swing, so it's going to cover that entire area. And what I ended up having to do with the wiper arm is the wiper arm had a section on it. They used to turn the blade to one side, which is roughly about 1.25 inches, 1 3/8 inch. So I ended up cutting that off and welding the wiper arm. I haven't fully welded it yet because I want to make sure it was working right. But that gave me the nice swing and moving the wiper arm back again. Now, the wiper blade, it's just an old steel blade that I had. So I wanted to do it this way for the simple fact that I wanted it to find out exactly. I could probably buy this blade now if I want to. But what I went up and did is I cut the ends off of this section of the wiper blade here and here. And I slipped it underneath. And you can see it slipped in underneath there and just held it in place and then ran welds on it. You can actually see where the arm sticks out of it there on the end. See what I got done? That's all I went and done. I put a little spot weld on it there. I moved it together close enough that two of these here touched. So that when I lays it down, now there's a little bit of a strain on the window when it's laid down, so the whole blade is actually touching. Now the nicest thing about these is the end of the blade is only held on in one section, which is right there. You see what the blade actually slides through these other two. So all I did is I moved the blade all the way to the end. And if you look at it, I cut that much of the blade off. And I just moved everything up and shortened the blade to that length there. So now this blade here actually goes from about right here and swings right on around over to here, like so. So it's got a nice, it cleans a good portion of the window. So that's what I got done. Now over here, you can see I got it all drawn out. I was talking to Scott about the glass. He said use like a gallon can to make the four corners. The rubbers will flow better on it. And he said this is not an issue. But you can see I got the hole drilled in place where it's got to go. And I got it drawn out where I got to cut it all out. My plan is now that I got to build a brace up here, a few braces up here for to mount the wiper motor. And down here on the bottom, I'm going to put a brace across here just to give it a little bit of support. These side ones are good and the top ones are good. I still haven't decided. I might do the same on the top, but I'm thinking about thickening up the entire entrance where the window's going to sit and putting a second layer of metal and just spot welding it onto that area. And like down here I'll put a little shape to it so it'll give it a bit of strength. On the sides I can't because the pipe is there. On the top I can't. Well, I can do it across the top of that. We'll see anyway. Anyway, I'm going to go now and start making up the brackets for this here. Now, I've been busy. As you can see, I got a bracket made up and mounted on this here. All I went and did is I cut out a piece of flat bar. There's an inch across the top, bent it on 90, inch across the bottom here. This is 2 inches high because that's the height the motor had to come off the thing. So I measured up here. That's 2 inches. And after I made the bends and everything, when I started tweaking it, because of the rolls of the bends, as you can see, it's open on the bottom. It looks nicer now anyway. I had to move it out in order to get this 2 inches up off here. All I did is I drilled a hole, welded a nut on the back side of it there for that to go on there. So now I just got to make 2 more brackets. This was the easy bracket to make. As you can see, I got the green tape on her here. Now this is the window here, and this will be the cut edge where I'll be cutting it off. Now, when you put the door rubber on, or the window rubber on, it's going to overlap into here so much. So I went ahead and put this 1 inch piece of tape in it, so I'm trying to keep everything in behind it. So when he goes to put the rubber on, it's not going to interfere with the brackets of the wiper. So I'm going to bolt the wiper onto this one here now, and I'll show you what I got done. Okay, here it is. I got it bolted on here. It's all mounted, so I got to put a bolt over here and a bolt over here. Now, if you look straight up above this here, you'll realize that the bolt mounting location is right above where the rubber is going to sit. So I had to figure out a way to make a bracket that will go up on an angle. So this is what I come up with right here. Made up this little bracket here. Took a few tries. In other words, that was my first attempt at it. Just trying to figure out this angle here. I knew that when you bend metal on an angle like that there, that it was going to kick the flat part forward, right? So I was just figuring out how much, and I realized I had to do it this much here. And of course, then I had to put the bolt right on the outer edge of it. And so now when you take this here and you fit this in place, right? Put that in its location. You can see down here, it's not touching the rubber there, or it's not touching the rubber in there. Okay. So I'm going to turn it a small bit. It is touching the rubber, Tony. Don't be lying. Don't be telling lies. Okay. Anyway, there you go. It's better there now. Yeah, there you go. And then that'll bolt down through there. So then now all I got to do is I got to make up the same type of bracket over here. But on this side, I also got to deal with the center pinion is in the way there. So I got to be pretty creative on that one. So I'm going to bolt this one on, and then I'm going to tack weld that on, have that done. And there's what I come up with. I started to make a bracket much the same as these two here, bending up the two angles, and I'm putting it on a sharper angle. And then when I had it all made up, it was just way too long. I was coming way out and was going way in. And this is the other half of the bracket. And I cut it in half, and I started to think, well, hang on now. I just need a tab on that one. I said, because this one's supportive and this one's supportive. And I said, it's solid. That's not going nowhere. So this is what I did. All I did is I just made the bracket come up here. Of course, I got clearance for the rubber. And welded a nut on the back side of it so I can screw 3 of them on. So that's mounted now. That's where the wiper's going. So now what I'm going to do is I got to weld up these corners. I only got to come in as far as here on the 4 corners. And then what I'm going to do then, I'm going to start cutting out this center section right along that line there and getting that out of my way, because the next thing I'm going to go at now is I'm going to do a reinforcement right here where the glass is going. I have an idea of I got these corners where I join them. I like to put a strip this way here just to support it for vibration, because it is an all-terrain vehicle, so it's going to be taking a pounding, and anywhere I think this possibly going to crack, it's probably going to crack back in here in these welds again. So if I run a strip in along here, it'll add to that, plus it'll also give strength to the glass itself. And I'm going to run 4 corners of them on the 4 corners, and then I'm going to run a brace across the bottom side here just below where the rubber goes. Much the same way. I'm leaving the sides alone, I think. I might run a reinforcement flat piece there, and the same one on the top. We'll see as I move along here. Anyway, get them welded up. Now I got these all welded up on the other side. They're all welded up solid. I also went out and I ended up cutting it all out. So I got the piece all cut out. It's right here on the floor. I'll end up using a lot of this now to weld back in there again. What I'm going to do here now is I'll show you is if you pick this up now, it's still pretty flimsy. Okay? Because I only made it out of 18 gauge steel. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to reinforce this section right around the top edge of it all the way around. And I'm just going to use it by shaping metal and spot welding it on along here to give it strength. So that way the strength will be there, but it won't be that heavy. This is all I done. I took the center piece that I cut out and I cut the end off it, as you can see right here. And I'm going to use that there. Oh, here's what I got done. I got it marked here now. I get this in the right light. Kind of hard to see, isn't it? And right there. And I got it marked. I got 1 inch left on the inside, and then I got 2 half-inch marks. It's roughly about a 1/2 inch. But I'm going to bend this. This here is going to be flat. This is going to come up, and this is going to go down. And then this is going to come straight in here. And then I'll spot weld it on here, and I'll spot weld it on here. This bend in this here is going to give it the strength. So I'm going to go over the bender now, bend that up. I'm just going to use 45-degree bends, roughly about. Just keep rotating it around until I get it to where I'm happy with it. Like I'm not getting crazy fussy with the dimensions here. It's only a brace. We can get fussy with it, fancy, and but I'm just looking to add some strength to it. That one's got to go further. That one's got to go further. There you got a little structural piece. You'll never bend that now. There's a little bend in the end of it. Right? There's more of a roll than anything else. That's pretty neat the way that went. I never even tried that. Here's what I got done. I trimmed off the back side, left about a 1/2 inch there, and then I went ahead and I drilled spot weld holes in it. I can't emphasize enough about spot welds. Some fellas likes running beads along the edges of metal. I don't like that because I find you're not getting no strength in it. You're only on the edge of the metal on this thing here, and that can break off. But when you're through the two panels and you're holding together, there's a reason why they build cars, factory cars, with spot welds and not with just running beads on them, right? So, and it looks a lot tidier too, because when you grind it all off, it just looks like it's glued on there. So that there now, I'm going to weld up those spot welds now, and that piece will be done. Okay, here's what I got done for the sides. I want to do a reinforcement in here, and I was overthinking it, and I just sat down and said, okay, Tony, let's simplify this. And I got a lot of this stuff here. See it around the floor, all this stuff here, and I got these angles already bent into it, and I'm just trying to reuse what I got. And all I got done is I chopped off a piece that was the right length, and then I fitted into the corner here, and I marked out the corners, and I cut it. Now I'm just going to fit that in there, like so. As you can see now, that'll clamp on there, and I'll spot weld these spot welds down along here, and this will line up down here. I'm going to put a little bead into that. Spot welded here, and I got this edge now that goes right up along here. This gives strength to this here going up along it. See? And I double up on the inside piece now. So when I clamps all this down, because on the bench now this is moving around, when I clamps all this down, this is going to have strength to it, right? So I'm going to clamp that on there now, and I'm going to weld that side on, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make the other side, and then we're going to tackle the top. Well, I got the two sides are all welded in. I got them all made up and done and welded up. And now I'm on to the top. What I went and done there, I just turned around and I just made a little template. I wouldn't say I made a template now. Me make templates. What are they, cracked or what? Anyway, I cut out this piece of steel from another thing, and I'm going to weld that in there across the top to give it some strength. I still wants to put one more piece in there somehow, just to give it structure this way. Box it in. It's a bit tangly because I got to deal with all this up here. So we'll see what I'm going to come up with there anyway. So I'm going to weld that in there now. Okay, I got carried away myself, and I went ahead and welded that on, grinded all the inside up, and dressed all the outside of it here. And I got around there now for a test fit. I'm pleased with it. As you can see, that's the way it's going to go. You can see the wiper. I think I'm going to paint the window up there or something, just to cover that up from the outside. I don't know yet. I might say shag it. But you can see in here, I got it all grinded up, all the intersection here for the lip going all the way around. One last test fit. I'm going to put a brace up here on top, going across here, because if you watch this, when I push it on this here, there's a bit of movement there. And I'm going to put screws in through this top lip here, out into that. It's one of those things you just test fit here and there. But no, I'm pleased with it. Right, and the view from behind the seat when you're sat in it is pretty good. So, right, you're looking around, so there's not too much blind spots there. That post maybe. Other than that, no, I'm pleased with it. You can look out onto the ground pretty good. I didn't want to lose my lower section down here. I didn't want to bring it up too high so I couldn't see out front. So here's all I did. I took a piece of a metal. I cut the off one of them angles. It's just a 90-degree bend, and I hauled back this lip that I had rolled over, and I tucked it in underneath it. You can see it right here. See where it's tucked in underneath. And then I went and I had these holes drilled out every so often for spot welds. So I'm going to spot weld the lip to this here, and this here is going to add strength to it all the way along and keep this from wanting to do this along this edge. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to tie in these corners with this section here, so this is all one piece then, and it'll take in with this piece going down along here. So this top section will have an edge all the way around it, just to keep it steady. Because one of the disadvantages of going with the slider steels is it's got a kind of this going on. So I'm trying to add some strength to it. We could have turned around and went out and bought steel and got a heavier plate steel. It would have been a lot harder to cut up, for one thing. You need a plasma cutter. We haven't got a plasma cutter. I had all this steel here, so it's a little bit more work to reinforce it, to make it strong, but I'm kind of pleased with how it came out and happy with it. So I'm going to go ahead now and weld that under. So I got them all welded in all the way around here now, see? So now it's all joined up all the way around. Got these all spot welded going along here and along here. And I went and dressed up my corners and welded them up and rounded them off and same where they ended here. And all I got left to do in here now is just clean it up so it can be painted. Now the other side, I'm in the process of re-welding all the little spots on it again. I was going to fill it, but I said no, I'm not going to dress this. I'm going to continue welding it and dress it up so I haven't got to do nothing with it. And it's all going to be finished with like a rough coating anyway. So like if you were going to do a shiny paint, yes, I'd say all this will have to be filled along here and along there. And of course, see, you can see all the spot welds from the other side. I have a thing, I kind of like seeing spot welds. It always makes it look like it's not been repaired. And that's why when I spot welded from the other side, all I went and did is I cleaned up the top side, but you can still see where I welded it from underneath. It's got little dimples in it. I like that look. Gives it a factory look. Anyway, I'm gonna go clean all this up now and get it prepped, so then I can get a coat of etch primer on it, and then I'm going to paint it. Well, gravel guard it. Got it all done. Everything's sanded. Everything's prepped. Ready for paint. This is the inside. See the way all the structure's put together, where the wiper mounts, how it's mounted to the roll cage, all the reinforcements that are put in there. And this is what it's like on the other side. This is the front side, nice little drip rail on it, little reinforcements put on the sides there. The relief put in it for the wiper. All cut and fit for the cowl section. Even like rounded out the corners on the drip rail, so it's not sharp. Go for a test fit now. Here's that hatch rubber that I got at the U-Pick. I don't know, can't remember what it was off of, but it's usually you find them on the hatches and the trunks of cars that goes inside and it keeps the weather out. But I'm just putting that along there now to keep that from chafing and to keep any heavy amount of rain or anything to sneak in underneath the bottom. That really don't matter really, but the biggest thing with this is just to make sure that it doesn't chafe up along here on the body. Final test fit. I'm pleased with it. It's nice and solid up top now, on the top side here. So you can see where I put that lip in right across the top edge, right along, and it comes over here and it turns down, like so, and follows right along the inside edge there. I want to give strength to the windshield itself. I don't want the glass, because glass will put a lot of strength in steel, but I want the steel to give strength more than the glass. Because if it all start flopping around and moving around when you're hitting bumps and stuff like that, you'll end up splitting and breaking the glass. So the stronger you can make the structure close to the glass, the better it will be for the glass. Because I'm not putting Lexan in this. I'll be putting safety glass in this. I've dealt with drag cars and race cars for a lot of years, and I find Lexan got a tendency to scratch easy, and it swirls, it turns yellow, and you know, if you're out in the mud and the bog and whatnot in the woods, all that's going to play havoc. I see a lot of side-by-sides with the Lexan windows in them, and they're very hazy. And I said, no, I'm going to do this with the safety glass, so it's nice and clear all the time. And if it breaks it, well, I'll just have to get another one made. But that's the reason why I made all this structure here, to try to take a pound for anything coming in on the glass. Right, and the glass is inboard enough that hopefully that nothing will actually, like a tree or nothing, will actually hit it too hard. We'll see how long it has a windshield in this for. Anyway, I'm going to take that out now and paint it all up. And there you have it. Another one. All done. Very pleased with how it came out. As you can tell, there was a lot of work involved in it. There's probably easier ways to make windshields, but this one here has got more of a factory finish look to it. Got the wiper and everything on the top of it. Got the return back to it. The 626 wiper worked fantastic. The seal on the bottom, it's just a trunk seal off a hatch or off a trunk lid of a car. Not quite sure which one it is, but that's all it is, the seal for a trunk of a car. And it's got safety glass in it, so hopefully I don't beat it out. And it's just got a rock guard finish, much the same as on the roof. If you haven't checked out the video on the roof, have a look at it. It's a video there on doing the roof on this as well on my channel. But anyway, that's it for this one. Hope the tips were good, and until next time.